The moment you believe kindness makes you attractive is the moment she begins to drift. You text fast. You explain too much. You give more and more, yet she laughs at another man while you fade into the background. Every time you try harder, you vanish faster. Machiavelli warned, kindness without power is weakness in disguise. Women treasure it only after desire is already won. Virtue alone never creates attraction, it buries it. In this video, I'll show you how to flip that script, how silence becomes your weapon, and how presence creates desire before kindness even matters. If you've ever been ignored for giving too much, don't treat this as advice. Treat it as your turning point. Stay until the end. 1. The misconception of kindness as attraction. The moment you believed kindness alone could make her stay was the moment she began to drift. The more you gave without strength behind it, the faster you disappeared in her eyes. Ethan was 32, a project manager in Denver. His life was steady, predictable, almost respectable. When he met Rachel, he thought, finally, here was someone who would value the man who showed up no matter what. He listened carefully, answered every late-night call, rearranged deadlines so she would not feel alone. He bought her favorite coffee before she even asked. Every gesture said, "You can count on me." At first, Rachel glowed with gratitude. She bragged to her friends that she had found a man who truly cared. Ethan believed he had done everything right. But slowly, the air shifted. Her messages, once instant, arrived hours later. She scrolled her phone while he spoke. At restaurants, her eyes lingered on men who walked in laughing loudly, wearing confidence like an invisible crown. Ethan noticed the way her body leaned slightly toward that energy, even while she sat across from him. One evening, as he laid out his plan to buy a small house together, Rachel swirled her wine and let out a sigh that cut through him. "You're nice," she said, almost whispering. The word landed like a verdict. When was the last time she called you nice with that hollow smile that felt like goodbye? Say it now and I will show you the move that flips that verdict. Just type a few words or drop a check mark in the comments. Not desire, not admiration, just nice. His chest went hollow. Every sacrifice, every effort to prove his value collapsed into a single fragile compliment. In her tone, nice was not a prize, it was a coffin. Ethan sat there frozen, watching her smile fade as though she had already left. For the first time, he realized he had not been her dream. He had been her cushion, until something sharper, stronger, more alive walked through the door. His kindness had not bound her to him, it had made him invisible. Machiavelli warned that power is the root of loyalty. A man who offers only virtue becomes a servant, not a prize. Attraction is not born from kindness any more than fire is born from smoke. Kindness without power is a mask, and when the mask slips, there is nothing left but the outline of a man she never truly saw. What if every act of devotion you believed held her close was the very thing that pushed her further away? He thought consistency would keep her interest. She saw it as predictability. He thought sacrifice would inspire gratitude. She saw it as dependence. And when he confused kindness with attraction, he lost both her respect and her desire. How much of what you give is true presence, and how much is quiet surrender disguised as love? So, stop proving your worth with endless favors. Step back before rushing to fix her next crisis. Allow silence to breathe between you, because silence reveals whether she values the man or only the service. That silence will feel dangerous, but it is in danger that respect is born. If you hesitate, hold steady, because what comes next is the path to shifting from invisible comfort to undeniable presence. The next section reveals why building attraction through your body, your style, and your voice is not vanity, but survival. It is the foundation that decides whether kindness will be treasured or dismissed. Miss it, and you will keep trying to buy desire with niceness, never realizing that true attraction begins long before generosity. 2. Practical steps to enhance attractiveness. The moment you thought attraction was about waiting to be chosen was the moment you lost the game before it began. She did not walk away because you were unkind. She walked because you looked like every other man who blends into the background. Attraction is not a gift women hand out randomly. It is leverage earned by those who sharpen themselves into someone impossible to ignore. Mark was 28, a warehouse supervisor in St. Louis. His routine was solid but invisible. Gray shirts, old sneakers, a body softened by late shifts and takeout. He believed women would see through the surface and value his steady heart. When he met Sophia at a friend's barbecue, he was certain his patience and humor would win her over. He stood by the grill, offering to carry plates, making sure she had a drink in her hand. She smiled politely, but her attention kept drifting. A tall man arrived late, fitted shirt hugging his frame, cologne sharp in the summer air. He spoke with an ease that made the group laugh within minutes. Sophia leaned toward him, her eyes alive in a way Mark had never seen directed at himself. Mark tried harder. He asked thoughtful questions, offered gentle jokes. But he saw the difference in her posture, the way her hair fell forward as she leaned closer to the stranger. Later that night, when he checked his phone, her reply to his message was short, delayed, and final. "Nice meeting you." The word nice had followed him again, but this time it was colder than silence. Next time silence drops in the middle of your story, will you rush to fill it, or let her lean into it? If you dare, say it, and I will show you how silence becomes your leverage. One word or the fire emoji is enough. Standing in his apartment mirror, Mark noticed his hunched shoulders, the grease-stained sneakers, the exhaustion written on his face. He realized what stung most was not that Sophia left with another man, but that she never once considered him a real option. Machiavelli warned that appearances are not decoration, they are weapons. A prince who fails to project strength invites invasion. A man who neglects his body, his presence, and his voice invites invisibility. Attraction does not begin in the heart, it begins in the eyes and in the ears. Just as an actor steps on stage with costume, posture, and tone that command belief, a man must step into the world dressed as someone worth remembering. Without that projection, his inner value never even reaches the stage. What if the small details you ignore each day are the very chains that keep you unseen? He thought comfort was honesty. She saw it as neglect. He thought being easy to please would make him safe. She saw it as forgettable. When he left his body untended and his words flat, he did not give her stability. He gave her boredom dressed as kindness. How much of what you call being yourself is actually giving away the game before it even starts? Tonight, stop trying to impress with effort alone. Replace the shirt that makes you disappear. Fix your posture before you enter a room. Say less but mean it with tone that cuts through noise. You will notice people leaning in, not to help you but to understand what you already command. If hesitation creeps in, remember that the man who invests in his presence never begs for attention. He owns it before a word is spoken. The next part reveals why understanding feminine communication is not just charm. It is the difference between talking at a woman and making her feel you inside her mind. Skip it, and you will keep dressing well but still be unheard, still playing outside the world where true attraction is born. 3. Understanding feminine communication. The moment you thought attraction was built on clarity was the moment her attention began to fade. You explained, you detailed, you filled the silence with sentences as if logic could hold desire. But her quiet was not confusion, it was her verdict. Every new word was a brick in the wall that pushed her further from you. She did not lose interest because you lacked effort. She lost interest because your words carried no emotional weight. Michael was 29, an accountant in Dallas. He had built his life around precision. Numbers balanced, receipts proved, conclusions held no room for doubt. When he met Anna at a mutual friend's backyard barbecue, he believed that sharing his ideas would win her trust. He spoke with certainty about work, about goals, about the things he could offer in a relationship. Anna smiled politely, listening with the patience of someone scanning a menu they had already decided against. When another man walked over, he said almost nothing of value, only teased her lightly about her drink, and she burst into laughter. Michael felt the air shift. Her body leaned toward the man who spoke nonsense but made her feel something. Hours later, Michael sent her a thoughtful message. "I'd like to take you to that Italian place we mentioned." The reply came the next morning, a simple flat maybe. He read it 3 times, hoping to find warmth between the letters, but it was cold stone. When did you last explain yourself endlessly, only to watch her lean away? Do not lie to yourself. I will show you the flaw that made you invisible. Write a few words or drop an X so others can see the cost. Machiavelli warned that power lies not in the information delivered, but in the emotions stirred. To speak like a logician is to deliver packages no one asked to open. To speak like an artist is to create vibration in the unseen air so the other cannot help but adjust to your rhythm. It is the same as 2 tuning forks placed side by side. One already humming pulls the other into motion without a word. A man who ignores this law becomes forgettable. A man who applies it becomes unforgettable, even in silence. What if rejection was not about what you said, but about the fact that you never made her feel? He believed honesty was intimacy. She experienced it as heaviness. He thought providing details showed reliability. She interpreted it as boredom. His words told her his story, but her body was waiting to feel her own. How many men mistake precision for connection, never realizing that communication for her is not complete until emotion echoes back. So hold your tongue 1 moment longer than you think you should. Replace explanation with pauses that breathe. Shift your focus from what you need to deliver to what she begins to reveal. Watch her eyes, her hands, her shoulders. If they soften, you have spoken the right language, even if you said almost nothing. If anxiety rises in your chest, remember that silence is not absence. It is often the spark that forces curiosity. The next part will expose why words alone can never anchor desire, because attraction is not built on what is said, but on what is felt beneath the words. Skip it, and you will keep trying to win with content while another man owns her attention through resonance. 4. Emotional resonance over semantic content. The shock comes not when she shouts, but when she looks at you with that quiet disappointment. And you realize she is not arguing facts. She is demanding that you feel what she feels. You try to explain, to defend, to correct the details. But the colder her eyes become, the more you sense the truth. This was never about the words. Marcus was 36, a software engineer in Seattle. His life was built on logic. Every day he solved complex problems at work. Every night he tried to bring the same clarity into his relationship. His girlfriend Anna would bring up moments from weeks ago, sudden bursts of memory, a dinner where he forgot to notice her dress, a party where he laughed too loudly with another woman. He would calmly remind her of the facts, the timeline, the context. "That's not how it happened," he would say, his tone precise, his memory flawless. Yet each time, her face would harden, her shoulders would turn away, and the room filled not with understanding, but silence that tasted like failure. One night, Anna said, "You never get it." That single line shattered him more than any argument. When did you last push harder with facts just to calm her silence? If you dare, share it, and I will give you the move that keeps her eyes on you. 1 word or a clock emoji is enough. Type it now. He had tried so hard to be reasonable, to be correct, to be good, but in her eyes, he was absent. She was not asking for the truth of events, she was asking for the truth of her feeling. And in that moment, Marcus realized he had been fluent in data, but illiterate in desire. The more he insisted on logic, the more invisible he became in her world. Machiavelli warned that those who cling only to the surface of things are ruled by those who command appearances. Words are not just containers of meaning, they are weapons of mood. A single please can seduce, threaten, or humiliate depending on how it is delivered. Like an actor who turns lines on a page into living fire, the one who bends language with emotion rewrites the very script of intimacy. So the question becomes, if logic is not enough, how do you speak in a way that reshapes the atmosphere itself? He thought his precision was strength. She saw it as emptiness. And emptiness does not create attraction, it drains it. He built his presence on clarity, but clarity without resonance is just a glass wall between two people. And what Anna wanted was not his memory, but his heartbeat. Do not rush to argue tonight. Do not rehearse the facts tomorrow. Step back, let silence breathe. Notice her tone before her words, her eyes before her sentences. That small shift turns a battle of arguments into a dance of connection. And if it feels uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the crack through which a new kind of power enters. Soon you will see that true charisma is not just speaking clearly, but speaking in a way that bends the entire room. Because the next part reveals how charismatic communication builds a private universe where status, attraction, and control shift silently in your favor. Miss it, and you will keep speaking the language of robots, while someone else speaks the language that makes her stay. 5. Charismatic communication and contextual status. The shock is not that she ignores your words, it is that she becomes addicted to the atmosphere you create. A man who speaks clearly yet emptily is forgettable. A man who speaks with resonance even when the words are simple becomes unforgettable. In the game of attraction, clarity alone is sterile. What matters is the vibration beneath it. Darren was 32, a sales consultant in Austin. His life was a checklist of improvement. Haircut fresh every 2 weeks, gym sessions 6 days straight, shirts fitted to his frame. He could approach women with perfect small talk, flawless manners, clean humor. But the result was always the same. Smiles at the bar, numbers exchanged, then silence that followed the first date. One night, he watched a man with nothing close to his grooming or discipline walk into the same lounge. The man told a clumsy joke, yet the way he leaned in, lowered his voice and touched the table as if sealing a private pact, turned the entire group toward him. Darren noticed the girl he had been talking to for an hour shift her chair, her attention stolen in seconds. He had lost, not because of status or looks, but because another man created a universe in which she wanted to live. That moment cut deep. For years, Darren thought performance was about polish. Yet here was the brutal truth. Charisma is not polish, it is gravity. If you could whisper one command to yourself before chasing approval with polish, what would you say? Be ruthless, and I will rewrite it in Machiavelli's voice. One short line or the book emoji is enough. It is the silent contract that says, when you step into my world, the rules out there no longer apply. The man who understands this does not compete with money or appearance, because money and appearance are just proxies. Real seduction builds a private stage where two people dance to music no one else can hear. Machiavelli warned that the crowd obeys those who master illusion, not fact. Money buys a seat at the table, but presence turns the table into a kingdom. A single phrase, delivered with the right inflection, can rival $1,000 suit. This is why so many men with wealth remain invisible, while others with little bend desire around them. Charisma is not an accessory, it is the battlefield itself. So the question is, what if you stopped chasing proof and started shaping perception? He thought his clean image was enough. She saw it as decoration. Decoration fades, but atmosphere lingers. He believed status came from what he owned. She felt status from how he made her feel, and in that fracture lies the reason so many men give everything, yet keep nothing. Tonight, do not think about the car you drive or the outfit you wear. Think about the room you create with your voice. Lower your pace. Drop silence between your words. Let her feel that when she is near you, the air changes. If this feels unnatural, that is the signal you have been living outside your own gravity for too long. Soon you will see that status is not universal, it is contextual. And in the right context you can reign without wealth. Because the next part reveals how to claim contextual alpha status, the kind of presence that makes even a crowded room bend around you. Miss it, and you will keep buying proxies for power, while the men who understand context live like kings, without crowns. 6. The power of contextual alpha status. The truth that unsettles most men is this: money alone does not make you the center. Power does not always wear a crown. The one who commands the frame, even for a brief moment, bends the laws of desire. That is why a man with nothing in his pockets can walk out of a dim bar with the same woman who ignored 10 others with better shoes and heavier wallets. Status is not absolute, it is contextual. Ethan was 26, broke and invisible in the daylight. He worked in a warehouse on the edge of Denver, clocking hours under fluorescent bulbs, barely noticed even when he spoke. But on Thursday nights, he became someone else. A local cafe cleared a corner for open mic, and the moment he stepped on stage with a guitar, the air changed. The same men who mocked him at work were faceless shadows in the crowd. The same women who never returned his hello leaned forward, eyes fixed. For 2 hours, Ethan was the frame. His voice was shaky at times, his clothes secondhand, yet within that small world, he was the contextual alpha. And that night, one of them followed him outside, drawn not to his bank account, but to the aura he projected under the lights. 3 days later, the calls went unanswered. Her curiosity had been consumed. Ethan faced himself in the bathroom mirror of his basement apartment, the silence heavier than rejection. He realized what every man eventually learns: temporary frames cannot sustain lasting power. Context can make you king for a night, but when the stage vanishes, so does the crown. That is when the hollow echo of performance cuts deepest. What is one frame you will hold this week that no one can break? If you dare, declare it, and I will give you the strategy to guard it. One word or the shield emoji is enough. Drop it now. Machiavelli warned that men lose not because they lack strength, but because they mistake appearances for substance. Power is not a permanent crown, it is a shifting mask, handed to the one who understands the moment. To play the wrong stage is to volunteer for irrelevance. To build no substance beneath charisma is to guarantee collapse once the lights dim. Here lies the mirror. He thought applause was validation. She saw it as entertainment. He confused temporary fascination with enduring desire. And that is why countless men keep performing, blind to the fact that the audience has already left. So take one step today. Stop chasing stages where you are invisible. Step into circles, no matter how small, where you can control the frame. Let silence amplify you. Let presence carry more weight than proof. Watch how people lean in, not because you begged, but because scarcity sharpened their focus. That is where contextual alpha is born. And yet, power that exists only in context dies with it. If you stop here, you remain a temporary king, crowned only in borrowed light. The next and final part will connect everything you have seen, the strategies, the betrayals, the hidden laws, into one conclusion. Miss it, and all of this knowledge will dissolve into fragments, never forming the weapon it was meant to be. What comes next is not just a summary, it is the blueprint that decides whether you walk away with power in your hands or keep living as a performer in someone else's play. This is where everything comes full circle. What you just heard was never about tricks, cheap lines, or chasing approval. It was about reclaiming your presence by mastering the way you look, the way you carry yourself, and the way you speak without begging to be heard. You now see why kindness without strength makes you invisible, but charisma and contextual status make you unforgettable. And this isn't about turning cold or pretending to be someone else. It is about becoming untouchable. You don't need to spend more money to be chosen. You don't need to flood her phone to be remembered. When you stop performing, you start commanding. When you stop proving, you start being respected. A few weeks ago, Jason, a 34-year-old lawyer from Chicago, sent us a message. For years he had been the dependable nice guy, always available, always accommodating, always overlooked. He said he felt invisible in both dating and in the office. But after watching our videos, he began applying the strategies you heard here, dressing with intention, pausing in silence instead of explaining, and shifting his tone to carry weight. Within months, he noticed colleagues leaning in when he spoke, and women responding with curiosity instead of indifference. His words now: "The moment I stopped trying to convince, I started to be believed." You could be next. Subscribe now, because the shift begins quietly, but it changes everything.